House show up. Oh no. Why is it going to keep kicking me on and off here? We'll see if we can get it to just stay. Hopefully, let me know in the chat if you guys are having any difficulty. The Wi-Fi here at the hotel is not fantastic, but if you can hear me and see me good, let me know over here in the chat, and I'll make sure before I move forward here. Everybody, okay, cool. We'll go back up for the super chats. So anyway, kind of back to coin alts. This is kind of the premier conference. To a strategy on chain, or that most of the time you're going to have to be a high net worth individual to even get access to this type of stuff. Not everybody has all the cash, but yeah, bear with me on this again on the crappy Wi-Fi here at the hotel. So there's a lot of really cool stuff out there in the space, and we utilize some of those strategies in the funds that we run at Digital Wealth Partners to be able to generate returns on people's digital assets. We've done this in a way where you don't ever have to liquidate the asset, you don't have tax implications. We've really structured this in a unique way to be able to offer people a return on their digital assets without ever having to sell it or trade it or have counterparty risk, or a lot of the things that I just didn't want to be the case. And it's been really cool to be able to orchestrate that. There's so many different partnerships that we have involved in order to be able to accomplish that. Shout out to all those guys. If you ever watch my lives, none of this is possible without our partners, including Anchorage and many of the other people that we work with to be able to facilitate this. What used to be MG Stover and their fund admins, Securitize, and many others, to be able to bring strategies and returns to people that, up until we put it together, really just did not exist in the space. And they will. There's a lot of the stuff that we've developed over the past 3 years here and put into practice. We've just paid out another 2% on people's assets that they have with us, close to $300 million worth of XRP in our strategies. And, that's exclusively to the clients that are Digital Wealth Partners. It's not available through a DeFi protocol or some of the other cool stuff that's being developed out there. You got Flare that's now live. You got MXRP. You got and that's a partnership between Midas and Axelar, which, we talked to those guys. They're awesome. By the way, shout out to Bob over there at Axelar. I watched him, go from spot to spot in the space, and it's been cool to keep up with everything that's going on. And for other people starting to see the value proposition in XRP and, allowing people to generate returns on the asset. But again, a lot of these smart contracts, they're going to come with situations where you're going to have to give up ownership of your XRP. They're oftentimes not going to, keep things in institutional custody, but at least my definition of institutional custody, where they have a license, it's bankruptcy remote, it's insured, all the other benefits that we have when you work. So DeFi into what we're doing in the near future. Would love to be the first institutional DeFi provider for XRP. But again, a lot of that stuff just needs to be worked out. We got to be able to make sure that there's, got to mitigate liability and risk on things. And we want things done a specific way to ensure our clients have the best security. and ownership of their assets. So got a lot of things happening in the market. We went over a lot of that today in the mastermind. If you guys are in there, ran it down at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, like we do every Monday, and went over market conditions and where we think things are going and all the other fun stuff that all the people there get to participate in. We did have an awesome event last night here in San Francisco. If you missed that one, I think we ended up around 270 people there at the event. So shout out to everybody that came out to the Mastermind event. Very cool to see and meet everybody. Start things and they turn out better than you thought they would. I mean, you always have these like lofty dreams about stuff, but then they actually happen, and it's wild to watch. So again, just super blessed and grateful for everybody that's participating there in the group. This person's asked how you join over here on TikTok. So you can go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, just like it's spelled, all capitalized, the number 1, and then M Mary Oscar, and that gets you the code for the first 2 months for $2 there in the group. This person says, I like Jake, but he's very repetitive. I I try not to be, Larry. Different than what it would be if it's just kind of a one-off here. Maybe it won't click the first time. A lot of this is like drinking through a fire hose, and so a lot of people asking about ISO going live over here in November 22nd. So I'll address that, and then we'll jump into the questions here on the super chats over here on YouTube, and we'll probably hang out for about an hour. I've got a dinner that we're hosting, and so I'm going to get ready for that. But as far as ISO going live, ISO is a messaging standard. There's a lot of people out there that propagate that that's going to be the kickoff of when the switch happens and all these things kind of take place. It's a precursor. It's something that needs to be in place in order for a lot of this stuff to actually work at scale. So I need to find a better analogy for this, but the one that's most useful for me either is the shipping container. Like you go to every single port in the world, the shipping container is always the same across all those ports. And so all the equipment and all of the stuff to be able to move things around the world logistically is the same because they've standardized the shipping container world. Before you have the other. And so, we possibly need that in place before the rest of this takes off. However, I will say with the caveat there's a chance. I mean, a lot of people just been dragging their butt on that deal. They've been trying to implement that for 5-6 years at this point, a lot of it in 2020. And so, because of that, a lot of people have already done it. A lot of people are on the track. They've already implemented the systems. They have all the standardized messaging in the schema that it's supposed to be, and they're ready. There will be some people when this kicks over the line here that are still delayed and for whatever reason. And, they're probably not to see, what ends up playing out with that. Every time I raise my hands, it freezes over here on YouTube. TikTok is working good. So got a few more viewers over here on TikTok than we normally do on YouTube or on TikTok. YouTube's down a little bit just because, again, keep freezing, and apologize for the technical difficulties. So we'll go ahead and jump into the questions here. Like I said, we're going to hang guys, and then we'll shut it down for tonight. So we got Christopher. He says, how can Ripple buy back Evernorth, which will buy and hold XRP while still at the same time selling XRP onto the market monthly? Seems hypocritical. An entity buying and the other one selling. How will price go up? Ripple doesn't have to sell onto the market every month. They do in order to fund their business. They have $1 billion XRP that come out of the escrow, and so far this year they've been withholding 700 million of that and selling 300 million per month onto the market. As price continues to go up, they won't need to sell anywhere near as much in order to be able to fund their business. And if you have DATs and ETFs significantly accumulating more XRP, then market, you have supply and demand, right? If you look at that, if there's way more demand than there is supply, then you're going to have, and then once it's high enough, you're going to see the use of XRP to be able to settle transactions on global markets. Once it's doing that, there's enough volume there that it'll create a floor. So when XRP gets over $100, it's not coming back down. I know a lot of people are telling you to sell, or that, this cycle is not any different than the other ones. Utility is right around the corner. We have legislation right around the corner. We have the big banks and institutions here at the door for the adoption of this stuff. They want to use it, reduce cost and settlement time. So is literally 1 month away here, a little less than 1 month away, to where everybody has to be on board with that. So again, those things are mutually exclusive, but it is the precursor to being able to use instant settlement. So by the end of the year, early Q1 in 2026, there's a lot of things that are culminating right here that will cause some of these assets to be adopted at scale and decouple from the cyclical pattern that we've seen with Bitcoin in the past. I do think you're going to get the ETFs here in the near future when the government comes back up. It might be late Friday, right after the market closes this week, would be an interesting time for them to reopen the government. We'll have to see. I think it's going to be a fun next 2 months here at the end of 2025. And a lot of what I've been talking about for 1.5 years now looks like it's ready to go. So if you hadn't packed your bags, this is probably a good time for my disclaimer. Anything said here is for entertainment, educational purposes only. It's not financial advice. You should always talk to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. If you need a financial advisor to talk to about your crypto, it's not going to tell you exactly the same thing as me, because my opinions are my opinions. They're not the opinions of the firm at Digital Wealth Partners or Digital Ascension Group. They are fiduciaries, and they will make sure that they talk through all the risks, everything associated with all of it with you. And they'll advocate for diversification and a bunch of other things as well to be able to hedge against volatility, which is what their job is. But if you don't have at least some allocation to digital assets, would start contemplating that and doing some more research so that you can get it figured out before that opportunity. And not that the opportunity is going to go away. This is going to be the 12th sector of the S&P. It's going to be around for the rest of our lifetimes. But a lot of the big opportunity, I do think, will go away in the short term here. You're going to see a Cambrian explosion, is what where there's a significant adoption of this tech all at once. And on the other side of that, the people that participated in that move to the upside are going to do very, very well in comparison to the people that show up a little bit later. Once grandma can use it and she understands it, most of the profits have been made. So we'll go ahead and scroll up here in the chat, and then we'll get into some more of the super chats for you guys that are nice enough to post those. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your Friday afternoon, hanging out with me. It's normally, it's not Friday, it's Monday. We did the last Friday. Last Friday was live. That's what's got me messed up. So we'll jump into the super chats here. And again, going to hang out for about an hour. We've got, it's me. They say 80% of my portfolio is XRP, 20% is ADA, XLM, and Quant. The 20% is what I'm planning to sell this bull run. Keep thinking of switching them to XRP, but not sure. Thoughts? Can't tell you what to do. Again, not able to give you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. We do have people over there at Digital Wealth Partners that you can schedule a time with that will be able to give you actual financial advice and tell you how to allocate your portfolio. But I like the Pareto principle. I think that that's a great way to look at things. 80-20 tends to be a really good split, especially if you have high conviction on something. The other 20% that you have, they're all good things. I think Quant will do well. ADA is going to do well. XLM will do well. HBAR, Hash, Ondo, Chainlink. There's a lot of other digital assets that have significant use cases and will have utility, and we'll see a big movement to the upside in their price. I would look at things that have currently filed for them. XLM and Quant, I'm not aware of any ETFs that were filed before they're going to standardize this. Not to say they won't rush the door with those. When they do have a standardized way to be able to file and approve these spot ETFs. But we had Litecoin, Doge, Solana, XRP, and HBAR were the 5 main digital assets that we know people are going to bring spot ETFs for. And so that's what I think is going to see the price appreciation this alt season. I think they're going to significantly outdo other altcoins because the liquidity that's going to be rotating out of Bitcoin this cycle into those is coming from the ETFs and institutional inflows. And if you don't have a position there for that liquidity to move to you, the closer you are to the money spigot, the more money you're going to make. That's really just how all of this works. The closer you are to when that money is initiated or put into the system, the less inflation you're going to face, and the higher return you're going to have on that type of investment. So not to say that there won't be, a significant rotation out of Bitcoin into those, and then a rotation out of those into other digital assets. But I think the main influx is going to be on stuff that has ETFs ready to go live. And again, I only own XRP. You can call me an XRP zealot or a maxi. I'm cool with that. That's fine. I'm here for ROI. I'm here for return on investment, and that's my game. And there's some other stuff that I know about, some of the products that we're bringing to market at Digital Wealth Partners and generating returns and some other things that I'm planning on playing on. And I talk about there, in the Mastermind and at the event last night, talked to a couple of different people about, some of the things we're doing. So up to you, my man. I think you have, a great portfolio for how it's structured today. But if you want to make some changes, always have, consider the tax consequences if you're up on some of those other positions, or if you're down on some of those capital losses in crypto. So if you're already down on some positions and you want to rotate out of those into something else, it sucks to lose money on investments, but locking in capital losses if you're expecting large capital gains is a good way to be able to offset some of those tax implications. And I'm just like everybody else. Okay, I'll be the first one to say it. I don't want capital gains on crypto. I hope Trump and everybody there decides like certain assets don't have capital gains on them. I got to play in the system that I'm in. If those changes actually come into place, awesome. There's going to be some changes that we roll out also. But as things sit today, you do want to make those considerations before making those trades. We got Southern Rock Singer. Very cool. They say, once I get to 500K, I'm coming to DAG, but I want to get an LLC and everything else that is a must have with DAG before price appreciation. I believe you encourage this move. So since he brought it up, we'll talk about the LLC. We've helped form over 5,000 holding companies that manage alternative investments with a sleeve for crypto. Okay, and we do that a specific way. Most of the time it's a single member LLC, unless you're in a state that has qualified joint venture and you and your spouse want to do it, or you have multiple people in your family and you're all blood related, then you can do a family limited partnership. And all three of those ways allow you to move your assets into a corporation with no tax implications. And we do all of that end to end for people if they want that service. Probably doesn't make sense if you have less than $50,000 to $80,000 in your crypto portfolio. There's a higher ROI or better cost to benefit if you're going to continue to just dollar cost average with the $2,000 or $3,000 that it's going to cost you to set up a company versus paying that over here. But once you get over that $50,000 to $80,000 in portfolio value in your crypto, and you anticipate that things are going to move substantially higher, then yeah, it makes sense to go ahead and set up a corporation to be able to manage those assets, because you're going to get the creditor protection there in Wyoming that we set up. Charging order protection in Wyoming, you get anonymity in Wyoming. There's no state tax, and you're going to get the best regulation for using digital assets in a business there in Wyoming. There's a lot of protections if you do it that way. So highly recommend, whether you work with us or not, that you work with an attorney to be able to set this stuff up. Drafting the operating agreement most of the time with other attorneys is going to cost you somewhere between $1,500 on the low end up to $2,500 just for the operating agreement on an LLC of this kind. And we do everything end to end for $2,000. We have it listed for $4,000 code. AG LLC, all capitalized. Get you everything end to end: corporate veil service, certificate of good standing, the banking memorandum, EIN, articles of organization, registered agent, all the stuff that you need that you probably don't know about. I mean, I'm not saying that. There's probably some really educated people that are watching this, but all the things that you may not know about for the LLC, we do all of it for you. And we make it super simple to maintain it and maintain your creditor protection. So even if somebody sues you, if your corporate veil is in place, can't come after it, can't take the assets. They can just put a lien against the company and can't liquidate your crypto. So if you want those protections, if you want the anonymity, it's a attorney-client privilege there in Wyoming. If you work with an attorney to set it up and you don't list your personal address, your name's not on there, it's not on any public documents, it's very difficult for anybody to discern or figure out who is associated with the entity. You want to do things a certain way, right? And so again, whether you work with us or not, all good either way. Just make sure you understand what you're doing and you're working with professionals, or you've done a lot of research if you're going to do it yourself. And again, $50,000 to $80,000 is where we see most people start to make that decision. We've got this person here. Thank you for the super chat. They say, Jake, thanks for all the advice. Finish the LLC. Awesome, dude. Laughlin was super helpful. Nice having XRP in cold storage, in LLC, safe deposit box. Appreciate you. Absolutely, dude, or lady. Really glad to be working with you. Excited to have you, set up pre-price appreciation. And you're going to be able to season in a bank account. That's another thing that a lot of people really don't think about here, is when you do take large profits, if you are going to sell some, the other gentleman said, I'm going to sell 20% of my portfolio, and these are the things. If those run up and you got 7-8 figures and you move that to your bank account from a crypto exchange, your personal bank account is probably going to get flagged, probably going to get frozen, especially if you haven't ever had large amounts like that come into your account. If you're going to move that into a business account, you can let them know, hey, I'm going to move this in here. It's an alternative investment. My broker's going to send me the money. I have it coming. You can set up a private client bank account at whatever bank you're going to work with. We like Mercury or Old Glory. They've been pretty good. Capital One. There's some other larger banks that will work with you. But if you know somebody there, you can really mitigate that risk. And if you're going to work with us and be able to generate returns off of it, that you're going to take monthly distributions out of the company to be able to live your lifestyle or do other things with, you don't want that money being frozen, right? Like, you need to be able to season in a bank account. If you open up a brand new bank account and you're moving $1 million, $2 million, $10 million into it, they're going to flag you. So you ideally want to have this stuff open for 3, 6, 9 months, a year before you have these large amounts of money move in, and you want to have consistent payment history through it. We're not out of the realm where you don't have to have a bank account yet. There are some applications that you can use Bitcoin to pay, and there's other exchanges that have cards and stuff. Gemini obviously has the XRP card. Uphold, has announced that they're going to roll out the XRP card. So maybe you do it that way and you don't have to worry about a bank account, but you are still going to want, a corporate account at either one of those exchanges. And we're happy to make introductions to either one of those if people need it. We got Amon Shields. They say, you're a legend. Appreciate you, man. Going to get an LLC set up with you guys next month. Awesome. XRP 1,000 in 2026. Here we come. I'm telling you, people think I'm crazy. I see so many people. I've seen a lot of people pick up and like point to me and say, this guy's saying, because they don't want to say it because there's so much backlash on this stuff. And I'm fine to be the guy. I will be the guy. I've run the math. I've run the numbers. I understand this, supply and demand dynamics. This person's asked, how do you contact me? Yeah, you can just go to our website at digitalfamilyoffice.io and reach out and set up a time with one of our advisors. Or you can email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and they will get you going for the LLC or some of the other services that we provide. Just depends on, again, just look through the website. All right, so we jump to, caught me off guard. I'm sure it was somewhere mid-conversation or mid-thought when I jumped over there and squirreled. But we'll jump to the next super chat here. We got Boone. He says, make sure I answered that one. Yep. Back to the $1,000 XRP. I still think that that's going to happen. I wouldn't say it on here. Like, before we get to Boone, I'll go ahead and finish my thought. I own the largest crypto RIA in the world. We have over 2,000 clients that we serve. We have $1 billion in AUM. We have $300 million in a hedge fund, primarily all XRP. Okay. I could not have bet any bigger on XRP. I've built our businesses completely around it. Not to say we don't custody some other assets and do, some things with other assets, but I mean, I've rolled the dice. If I wasn't certain or extremely confident in these outcomes, I wouldn't come on. There's a lot of credibility risks for me to come on here and talk about this type of stuff and then be wrong, right? And again, I've talked about this many times. Everything that I'm discussing is event driven. There have to be catalysts that play out. When does that happen? Nobody knows. I'm just trying to read the tea leaves and read between the lines here. And I'm looking at all the things that I know need to be in place for these catalysts to roll and the dominoes to fall that I've laid out for a year and a half. And they're all there. Everything's ready. And now you've got Ripple moving into these positions. They are with these acquisitions. You've got the Clarity Act rolling at the end of this year, likely, potentially early Q1 in 2026. It's all there on the board. And if I'm off by a couple months or I'm off by a couple $100, I really don't think people are going to be that mad if you make a bunch of money, right? But again, I can't give you financial advice. I know I say that often, and people, they're like, you're telling people. I want people to do their own research and understand what's going on, and also be able to combat a lot of the FUD that's out there that's going to cause people to get shaken on some stuff. Because there are a lot of people that they just can't see it. Their paradigm is around market cap, and they look at things a certain way, and they just can't comprehend that type of movement in an asset. But they also aren't looking at things as a protocol and a network that moves value globally. They're looking at stock prices or a company or, total addressable market for this one siloed thing, not the full breadth of what this is going to be used for. And you had Brad Garlinghouse come out the other day and said XRP is at the center of everything that they're doing. They need liquidity in XRP to be able to facilitate their business at scale, just like everybody else does. And they're not going to be the ones that do it. It can't be Ripple that causes price appreciation. I know we've had a lot of good announcements and all these acquisitions and things are awesome. And you're like, well, the price isn't moving. Good. We don't need the attention or it to look like a security of Ripple, because it's something separate. It's a protocol that they use, that they built their business to use, separate of the XRPL and XRP, but they benefit if XRP goes to significantly higher prices for their business model, similar to myself. So again, you're going to hear a lot of people say whatever they want about me and all the predictions and everything that I've said. I guess we'll see, is what I would say to that. We got 2 more months here. I'm not wavering. So whatever that means to you, make the best decisions for you and your family. We got Boone. He says, I've a margin call at $2 if price is down until the upcoming reverse carry trade. If XRP will be initially affected as well, going down 50 to 60%, or will the price of XRP possibly have gone up before it goes down? Boone, I do have a crystal ball. People were nice enough to get me a crystal ball, but it doesn't show me the future. And if I could predict every single market move, I probably wouldn't be on here, I would. I still want to help people irrespective of how well I do, but I don't know. I don't know if it goes down, up, sideways during all of that. The outcome at the end of it is what I'm betting on. The whole lot of sloshing around and whatever happens in the middle before it gets to that super high price, I wish I had a better answer for you, my man. I like your conviction. If you're levered up, I like your conviction, but at the same time, don't take too much risk. Don't roll it all, because if you do get margin called and you're in a position where you're going to get liquidated, you kind of lost the golden goose, right? But I think you can be smart about it. And if you're working with Digital Wealth Partners, I will say the largest crypto liquidation that has ever happened, we had, about $30 million in loans, XRP out, and nobody lost their XRP that works with Digital Wealth Partners. So we were able to cure all those margin calls. Again, that's a testament to our advisors and them working on Fridays late on the evening and on the weekend, and also helping people make sure they're taking good risk, not too much. We normally look at like 20 or 30% LTV if you are going to take a loan against your digital assets, just because of what you pointed out here, the volatility in the space. Maxwell, they say, after DWP onboard, how long before yield starts coming in? 1, 3 months. What to maker user can afford DWP's fees? Any others offering something fees besides 1K onboarding fee? So no, it's just the one-time fee for the onboarding. And then we do have monthly fees that are prorated based on your AUM costs there with us. Once we get the yield product up and going, it will be a monthly distribution. As we sit today, the funds that we have to be able to generate returns, it's a quarterly return. So people do have to pay out of pocket for the fees, over the couple months until they get the distribution. But we've had people get distributions that covered their fees for the whole year at this point. We just paid 2% on 1 quarter. And you do have to be accredited in order to participate in some of the opportunities over there. And so, again, I would encourage you to reach out to Digital Wealth, Digital Wealth Partners. DigitalWealthPartners.net is the one that you need to go to. There is, I was been made aware of another site today that's .us. Don't go to that one. That is a scam. That's somebody else trying to take your XRP. And on that point, there's a ton of people that are fake Jakes out there. Please make sure you're working with verified accounts. We will not message you. If you message us, we will respond. We will not message you. We do not run Facebook ads or any other ads. All of that's a scam too. So many people are taking people's XRP. Please be very careful out there. If you want to wait and hang on and make sure on things, or come meet with somebody in person, we do have an office. We have people all across the US that we can connect you with to shake a hand. That's the other reason we run these events for the Mastermind. There's a lot of people out there that this person says, I have so many yous messaging me. I'm sure you do, Tyler. They're all a scam, dude. I don't have the time. I wish I did to message people, but I don't. So anything with the Telegram channel or Web3 wallet or any of the other crazy stuff that's going on out there, it's all a scam. We will only operate through email. And again, digitalwealthpartners.net is the only place that you can get a hold of our advisors and talk through all the opportunities that we have. Matt says, hey, legend. What's up, dude? I have a dual citizenship with Canada and Portugal. I'm born and raised in Canada and reside in, worst case, Ontario. Would I be able to join Digital Wealth Partners as a Portuguese citizen and not have to pay taxes in Canada? Yeah. Over there in Portugal to be able to work with us. There's some things we're working on right now. If you are a foreign entity and you use what we have to generate returns, there's like a 30% tax that we're still trying to make sure is held or not held for people on the funds because they are American. With you at Anchorage and onboard your assets and hold them there in institutional custody for you. And if we generate yield, it's going to be different than the other stuff that we're doing. And I don't think it'll be subject to, those costs. So anyway, look forward to working with you. We work with a lot of international people. As long as you've structured yourself and you have an entity that holds your digital assets, whether that's a trust or a corporation or a limited company or even a retirement account, qualified accounts, we can do those as well. We do self-managed super funds from Australia. We do IRAs, 401ks, all that stuff at Digital Wealth Partners. There's some limitations to qualified accounts, but we're working on some other pretty cool solutions that we're going to be bringing to market in short order here as well. We've got Outward Ripple. They say, can we move sole LLC to family joint venture LLC later without triggering capital gains when we separate funds between ownership? Also, DAG consults ask if you want team member versus wealth advisor. What's the difference? So the wealth advisor give you financial advice. Like I talk about, I can't give you financial advice. I'm not licensed. I don't have a Series 65, 6, 7, 63, any of the stuff. They do, and they can provide you financial advice. So if you want financial advice, you're going to do wealth advisor. If you just want to talk about estate planning and structuring stuff, or you're international and you want to know who to use or what partners we have globally, that would be the other one. If you have, philanthropic interest and you want to set up a fund, a foundation or a donor advised fund or charitable remainder trust, or a lot of the other things that we use as tools, our team of advisors can work with you on that as well. So as far as moving a sole member to a family joint venture, equity in the corporation later on, as long as it's below your gift tax threshold, your lifetime gift tax threshold, or you can move. And if you were to do that, then, they're still going to be able to glean the benefits of it. It's just their direct ownership. And you can do rev shares out of LLCs versus equity. And you could structure it that way. We do have corporate lawyers that we can refer you out to, and eventually we'll likely bring a team in-house over the long term. But if you want to reach out to our staff, and they can get you with Laughlin, who's our paralegal group, they can walk you through all your options. SJ12 XRP says, hey, Jake, my wife and I just want to say thank you for putting on the meetup last night in San Francisco. Your team is amazing. It was so epic to meet you and shake your hand. Also pumped you like my sweater. Yeah, dude. I was bummed I didn't wear my sweater. Thank you for the super chat. Really cool to meet you and your wife last night. It's always good to have another Jake in the house. So Jacob is actually the second most common name in the world, right behind Mohammed. Mohammed is the number one most common name globally. Jacob is number 2. So a lot of us Jakes out there in the US and all over the world. Thanks again for coming last night. I really did enjoy meeting you guys. Sona says, Jake, you are my favorite XRP guy. Thank you for what you do. What do you think would be the latest time we could see 4-digit XRP? End of Q1 next year. Yeah, end of Q1 next year, I think, is probably the latest. And again, if I'm late by a couple months, I don't think people are going to be too mad at me. Scrolling on down. Let's see here. You guys are awesome with the super chats. Thank you again for taking time out of your afternoon to hang out with me on a Monday. We are about 30 minutes from wrapping up here. So I'm going to try to get through some more super chats. We'll go to the bottom and work our way back up. If you put in a super chat, don't add any more super chats. Don't waste your money. I'm not going to get to them. I'm sorry. If you do want to message me directly, you can. All you got to do is join the Mastermind, and you can DM me there. Again, I will not DM you. I will never reach out to you on any social media platform or in the Discord or wherever. But if you message me, somebody from our team, the Tea Lady, or myself will reply. And if it's in the Discord, it's me. I get in the Discord and answer everything. It's like once a week that I get back to everything there. But if you have a super chat that I missed, that would be the way to do it. And you just go to you go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in social or carbon one. Doesn't matter which one you do. You can ask me a question. We got Lynn. They say my LLC is set up through you. Awesome. Mercury account. Awesome. Paying my carbon one membership out of that. Yeah. Is that enough? Quite 50 XRP. How do I get in the queue? Sounds like you've got everything going, and thank you for being part of the Mastermind. And as long as you're paying for something out of that account, and they see activity, you are seasoning it. So you're doing a great job there. And then if you do have at least 50,000 XRP, we would love to work with you at Digital Wealth Partners. You'll just go to digitalwealthpartners.net. Make sure it's .net that you go to. So digitalwealthpartners.net. Contact us form on that website. And then, our team will work from there. I do want to say, please give our team some grace and you should receive a pretty quick follow-up email. If you don't, then check your spam folder. As you continue the conversation and go through everything, it will take a little bit. We're actively recruiting and training and hiring and doing everything that we can to scale up and meet demand. We've got, like I said, over 2,200 clients at this point. We've got 12 advisors on, but many of them are still going through training because we hired 7 of them last week. So again, just give us a little bit of grace, and I'm excited to be working with you guys on board before the imminent price appreciation that's going to happen here. And I think a lot of people are going to be really happy that they were proactive versus reactive, because on the other side of price appreciation, we're going to be with large volumes. At least for a little while. I'm sure that the banks will show up at some point and try to rehypothecate or recreate what we've done, but they're at least 6 months away on that. So we've got a little bit of a moat. Nobody else has segregated, insured, separated accounts that are bankruptcy remote in your name, set up with your beneficiary and your spouse or whoever else you want as a signer, or your distribution trustee. And, they've also got all your beneficiaries on the accounts there at Anchorage about crypto. And they're always going to be able to get these assets, God forbid something happened to you. So excited to be working with you on the LLC and look forward to working with you over there at Digital Wealth Partners also. And thank you for being part of the Mastermind. Awesome to see you in there. And hopefully we'll see you at one of the events in the near future. We got Lehman. They say, do you see Metallica's ecosystem, XPR, network, metal pay, loan protocol, as genuinely capable of delivering its regulated DeFi vision, or still mostly conceptual? I get it. I really appreciate people asking these questions. I would just say go do your own due diligence on it. I've tried to be candid on this before, and I get eaten alive by people every time because they want to tout that their stuff is real and it's good. Just go do your own research. I'm not going to touch it. I appreciate the super chat. It's not something that I invest in or am even looking at. I'll just say that. Scrolling on through here, we have anything over here on TikTok? Citibank. Yeah, we talked to Citi. I see that they're partnering with Coinbase or doing something with Coinbase, which is cool. Again, they're still, we know executives there. We've talked to many of them. They're still at least 6 or 8 months away from having anything legitimate for their clients or customers. Just Dave, my man, he says, hey, Jake, Senator Tom Teals said about the possibility of a Clarity Act not being signed. I have been saying this for a while, Dave. So I went to Capitol Hill and I advocated for both bills. We went there and we talked about the Genius Act. We talked to all the senators. I mean, we didn't talk to all the senators. We talked to like 7 different senators and advocated for it, both Republican and Democrat. I was there with the CEO of American Bitcoin and a bunch of other people that are on the digital chamber. And when we were talking to everybody there on Capitol Hill, they were like, yeah, we're going to get the Genius Act or the Genius Act passed. They didn't think Clarity was going to pass, and obviously it didn't. And now we've got, DeFi bill, and bullish on it when we were at SALT. She thought that it was absolutely going to get passed this year. I think they might punt it to Q1 next year. I think they're going to push it till after the midterms. If it gets pushed after the midterms, everybody's going to be focused on their lobbying and all the other stuff that's going to go along with that. And I don't think we're going to get any legislation if they don't get it done pretty quickly here. And with the government shutdown, I just don't know if it's going to get across the line. And the benefit there for people that hold XRP is that means XRP is it. There's nothing else with legal clarity in the US until that act gets signed into law. So, if you wanted to orchestrate a situation where there was a specific winner, I know people weren't happy about the lawsuit when it was going on, but sure would be some pretty sweet justice if XRP is the only thing they can use when they need it. Anthony says, if I start an LLC process last week with DWP, do I need to get XRP off of Coinbase at this point, or just wait? You can just wait. If you funded the LLC with your account there on Coinbase, then you're fine. I use Coinbase as a public restroom. Okay. All exchanges are a public restroom to me. I get in there, I do my business, and I get out. So, up to you if you want to leave it on there. I advocate it. I think that that's much safer, but I know it's a little scary to move stuff off of there and send it into the abyss if you don't know what you're doing. So if you are going to use a cold wallet, we like decent, full transparency. You get like $5 if you buy one through our link. I think we have it in the description below here on YouTube. I'm sure, you guys can probably find it over there through my link tree if you're on TikTok. We like them. I like their UI. I like the biometric. I like the breadth of assets that they have on there. I like the security around their device. All those things. I think it's great. Not to say there's not other good cold wallets. There's Tangem, LEPAL, Arculus, and the list goes on, right? So I do advocate for cold wallets. It is radical responsibility. There's no recourse. There's no insurance. If you lose it, if somebody hacks you, it's gone. Can't really, we do have people to call. So if somebody does phish you or hack you or your stuff gets stolen, and we will pass you on to our partners that can help recover your crypto. They've recovered close to $10 million in crypto at this point for people that have reached out. That's Bank Social. You can feel whatever type of way you want about John Wingate and all the stuff that's going on over there. I think there's a lot of people that, accounts too. Any interaction I've had with them, they've been awesome. John's a little rough in some of the way he talks about things, and that kind of rubs some people the wrong way. But I will tell you this, they recover assets. They work with 3-letter agencies and lock accounts and get people their money back. So I've seen them do it. So if you need that help, if you did get phished, if you lost your stuff, you can reach out to our team or join the Mastermind, and we'll get you connected to them. Carbon 1 and 2, we pay for that service every month for those people. So if it's free, if you lose your stuff and you're able to contact them within, a pretty quick time frame, oftentimes they can get your stuff back. Matt Coleman, he says, what's up, Jake? 2 questions. Once we hit price appreciation and meet the minimum for DWP, what's the onboarding time frame look like for institutional setup? What color Lambo should I buy first after price appreciation? About a week. It's normally not too crazy. It also kind of depends on how quickly you get things back to us. I've seen it done in as little as 3 business days. So pretty quick turnaround most of the time on the setup there at Digital Wealth Partners. Again, you do have to have an LLC put in place or a trust or some other wrapper holding your assets. But, again, wherever that is in the world, as long as you're not a terrorist, we can work with you. So that's cool. And a week or so, only not too bad. What color Lambo should you buy first? I'm not into being loud, but I do like stuff that's cool. And I like stuff that other people that know what it is will think is cool, because that's where you start conversations and you can do some business. So, like, my wife gives me hell all the time. I don't have a nice watch, but I want to buy a nice watch. But I don't want like a Rolex or something that most people would look at and be like, oh, that's a really nice watch. I want something that's a bit more like unassuming, but it's like a $50,000 or $60,000 watch. Because then the people that are watch people, they're gonna be like, I see you, you know. So same thing with cars for me. I'm not really into like Lambo with the doors or, those type of things. Maybe if you were going to join a car club, like that's the benefit of that for me. To just have it and drive it, I can rent one. But if I owned one, I would use it in some way to be able to, yeah, AP or a Patek, both of those. Um, So I would use the car to make more money or do more business deals. I would go on drives with a bunch of other people that have really cool cars, or be part of a car club or something, where I'm going to be able to network and do business, right? Like that's the point of having able to make a connection with somebody else that might have mutual benefit on something. It's not to be flashy or show off or, oh, look at me. I don't really want to draw attention to myself out in public. Like, this is what I wear out in public. Sometimes I wear a suit and look nice if I'm headed somewhere, but most of the time it's pretty just plain Jane, like some dude walking through the airport or wherever. And you could probably ask people, like, I don't, not a, I'm not trying to draw attention. I think people would do well to this person. Up to you on the Lambo, my man. There's nothing wrong with the Lambo. There's nothing wrong with supercars. I think all that stuff's awesome. But for me personally, it didn't drop off. Still recording. Okay, sorry about that. Touched something on the screen. It was weird. Um, all right. I'm sure that there's still a suit. No, it kicked my chat too. All right. Well, I guess that's going to be it for tonight. Uh, that's God's way of telling me that we're done here. So appreciate you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for taking time out of your Friday to hang out with me, and wish you the best on your week. Hopefully you kick ass and reach all your dreams and goals. And hopefully we get some price appreciation here soon with everything else that's playing out. So, okay, maybe I'm back here on YouTube. If I'm back, I'll hang out for another couple minutes here. Sorry about the technical difficulties on stuff. I'll try to grab a couple more super chats before we wrap it up here in about 15 minutes. I was surprised that actually worked. We got Zachary. Man, he says, hey, legend, do you know something about XRP and its anticipated timeline that you are not permitted to tell us? I'm going to skip that one. Appreciate the super chat, Zach. Hopefully, you're as excited as I am. Tom says, hey, legend, longtime follower, can you give us an update on alpha on Flare? I need to talk to Hugo again. I know that he was integrating with some other custodians here in the US. Haven't figured out, Flare hasn't appreciated a ton, even though, they are actually have F assets live. When we talked to Ripple about Flare, a lot of what they invested in that for was the time series Oracle. Flare Finance is a completely separate thing. And, we'll have to see how things end up playing out. But I think without securities law and the Clarity Act and a lot of other things in place, you're going to see Flare continue to just kind of tread water until we get, significant price appreciation on XRP could exacerbate the move on Flare over there. So, all right, we're going to take that as the last super chat and wrap it up here. I am going to go. I've got to get off to dinner. So appreciate you guys taking time out of your Friday to hang out with me. If you do want to join the mastermind, we would love to have you. Again, we had an awesome event last night. We'll have another one before Q1 probably. And we do more in real life events than any other mastermind or group in crypto. So we'd love to have you in there. Again, the code for that it's at beyondbroke.com. Use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month there for $2. Wake up, Uncle Danny. What's going on, Justin? And then the other 2 pieces, if you want to work with us to set up an LLC to be able to manage your digital assets and get the creditor protection, the anonymity, and all the other stuff that we know we're going to need, you can work with us at digitalfamilyoffice.io. Use the code 50OFF50OFFDAGLLC. That's 50OFF50OFFDAGLLC. Get you everything end to end for $2,000. All of it, all included. And then last but not least, if you have an LLC set up or a trust or something else that holds your digital assets and you have at least 50,000 XRP, that's 50,000 XRP, not $50,000 in XRP, it's 50,000 XRP. We can work with you at digitalwealthpartners.net. Just go to the contact us form there and fill that out, and we'll get you going. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next one.